Hello and welcome to Choir Time for February 29th. The first thing you need to do is go to Student Desktop and find the link at the top of the music page which says February 29 Choir Time. Make sure you are logged in with your email address. Click on the link and then fill in your first name, your last name, and your grade. Okay, quickly do that, then we'll move on to the next section. This is the same story as last week, but we are doing different activities with it. Firstly, we will read the first page very carefully and think about each fact or opinion or inference or piece of information which we come across. Okay, let's begin. It says, how could it have come to this? All I did was steal a dress and a bonnet. The magistrate sentenced me to transportation and the bailiffs put me in chains on board a ship called the Lady Penrhyn. During the voyage, I met Molly. She told me she wasn't a convict, but her mother was, and had died of a fever just a week after we set sail. Molly's eyes were full of tears, and she looked so scared. So I gave her my little rag doll, the only thing I owned. That was just over 3 months ago, and now here we are in this strange new land. Now let's go back and analyze the text. That means we are going to pull it apart and ask as many questions as we can. Firstly, it's very unusual for a book to start with a question. How could it have come to this? Talk to the person next to you or to your teacher and try and guess who is asking the question. Okay, off you go. So if you think about it, the front cover is called Beth, the story of a child convict. So if you think that Beth is asking the question, you're probably right. Second sentence, all I did was steal a dress and a bonnet. Now talk with your teacher or the person next to you and say, how is the girl feeling? Does she feel as though she has been treated fairly, or does she feel as though she has been treated unfairly? Okay, next piece of information. The magistrate, if you know what a magistrate is, you might know that it's like a judge. The magistrate sentenced me to transportation. If you know what transport is, that means that you take something somewhere. So transportation, if you are sentenced to transportation, talk to your friend or your teacher and figure out what transportation means. Okay, the next part. And the bailiffs put me in chains on board a ship called the Lady Penrhyn. See if you can guess what the word bailiffs means. If you need to Google it, open up a new tab and write bailiff, Bailiffs, meaning. Bailiffs, meaning. So that is the first paragraph. There's a lot of information in there. We find out that the main character feels she has been treated unfairly, that all she did was steal a dress and a bonnet, and now she's been thrown onto a boat to Australia in chains. Now look at the picture, figure out which person you think is Beth. Is it the tall girl or the short girl? Let's read on. During the voyage, I met Molly. She told me she wasn't a convict, but her mother was and had died of a fever just a week after we set sail. So, the next sentence is in the past as well. The first paragraph was in the past, talking about what's already happened, and now the second paragraph is also in the past. Now it describes what happens to Molly's eyes, how she felt when Beth and Molly became friends. It says, Molly's eyes were full of tears and she looked so scared, so I gave her my little rag doll, the only thing I owned. That is the picture that we see on page 2, where Molly receives the doll off Beth. And you can see she's looking up at Beth and she's very thankful for the doll. The last paragraph says, that was just over 3 months ago. And now, here we are in this strange new land. So, on this first 2 pages, we have a lot of information about the past. Then it moves into the present in the last paragraph, where it says that was just over 3 months ago. So now the person talking, who is Beth, is talking in the present. And then the next part says, and now, that means it's in the present. Here we are in this strange new land, ... So that means we're thinking about what? The past, the present, or the future? What do you think? The last 3 dots. Are they thinking about the past, the present, or the future? Talk to your teacher or your friends. Now, let's look at the 3 pictures on pages 1 and 2. We'll notice there is a black and white picture. Then there's a big picture with the 2 girls in it. And then on the first page, there is a picture of some people arriving on the edge of the beach, sitting on some rocks and standing on some rocks. So, this is very interesting the way the author put this together. So, think to yourself, which one is the oldest picture here? Which happened first? So you will see that the grey picture down the bottom with the soldier in it, there is a woman and she has chains on and she has a girl next to her, and that is sitting on top of the picture which has Beth and Molly in it. Who do you think is the woman in the grey picture, who has chains on her hands. Talk to your friend or your teacher. Okay? If you think that it's Molly's mother, you would probably be right. And you can see Molly is walking behind. You might wonder what feelings Molly has when she sees her mother being treated badly by the guards or the bailiff. And if she died 1 week after they were getting onto the ship, then she was probably feeling quite ill at that time. So you'll also notice that that picture is on a lean. It's not sitting up straight. And then when you look at the picture of Molly and Beth, that one is also tipping over as well. The two pictures tip into each other a little bit like a ship rocking on the sea. So it looks as though the black and white picture is the oldest because that happened first. Then the next one is the picture of Beth and Molly after Beth has given Molly the rag doll. And then we look across to the next picture, which is on the previous page. So it's all jumbled up, past, present and future. And that's probably to show that everyone is feeling a bit confused at this time, especially the two girls. When you look at the picture of the captains and the soldiers on the rocks with the indigenous people and the waves, you'll notice that it is standing up straight. This is the new land, Australia. Now we are going to do some freeze frames and see which pictures they match. Can everyone please stand up? Okay. The first freeze frame or statue we have to do is one which shows anger. Can you show a freeze frame statue which is anger? Can be in your face, in your arms, in the way you are standing, or all of those things. Hold it. Now, the next freeze frame we will do is one of being very proud. Pretend you are proud. You may have won some medals, or you may have got a high score in a test, or you may have just kicked a goal. Do a stance or a statue which shows that you are very proud. Now, do a statue that shows you feel ashamed. You feel ashamed either of something you've done or ashamed of something that someone you know has done. Ashamed. Now, do a freeze frame for loyalty. You are loyal to someone. That means no matter what happens, you will always be beside them. Okay, now let's go through them, moving from one freeze frame into the next. We'll hold each freeze frame for about 4 seconds. First one, anger. Now, pride. Now, loyalty. Now, shame. Okay, everyone sit down and look at the pictures again. Let's look at the oldest picture on the page. Out of the 3 pictures, the oldest picture is the black and white one because that happened first. Is there any person in that picture who could be feeling all of those feelings? Loyalty, shame, anger, and pride. If you had to choose one person in the picture, who would it be? Is it Molly's mother? Is it Molly? Or is it the soldier? Which one could have all of those things? Anger, shame, pride, and loyalty. Let's think about the soldier. He is loyal to his country and he's proud of his country. Does he feel shame or anger? Perhaps. Then there is Molly's mother. She probably feels some shame. She probably feels loyal to her daughter, and she probably feels angry towards the soldiers. But she probably doesn't feel that proud. Now, if we look at Molly, she can possibly have all these emotions. She's angry at the soldier for treating her mother so badly when she is sick. She feels proud of her mother because her mother maybe tried to get some food to feed Molly. So she risked her own safety to look after Molly. Molly will always be loyal to her mother, even though she knows she has done the wrong thing. And Molly might feel shame, not towards her mother, but she feels ashamed because people are judging her. And she might feel ashamed because she thinks she didn't do enough to help her mother. So possibly Molly would have those 4 feelings. If we are talking about Molly here, the small girl following her mother, see if you can begin a sentence with, "As I boarded the boat, I felt a mixture of emotions." Then talk to your partner or to your teacher and discuss how you think Molly is feeling. Does she feel anger? Does she feel shame? Does she feel pride? Does she feel loyalty? Or does she feel something else? Another emotion. So talk about that for a while. Okay, everyone, well done. The next section is called Molly is Alone. Here we see Molly looking across the water 3 weeks after her mother has died. Which words in the list below do not describe her feelings? So look at the list of words and try and figure out which words you think do not describe her feelings. How many words in this list do not describe how she is feeling? Here are the words: lost, alone, desperate, shattered, playful, devastated, aimless, energetic, heartbroken. Have a think, pair up, share your ideas, then talk to your teacher. You have 37 seconds. Okay, well done everybody. For our next activity, you will all need to stand up. Now, the first thing you need to do is to fold your arms and pretend that you are holding something which is your most precious thing that you own. In fact, the only thing that you own. And keep your arms in the same position, like you're holding it. Then imagine you are holding nothing. So your arms are in the same place. Now pretend you are holding that precious thing again. It might be a soccer ball, a cricket bat, a present that someone gave you. Whatever it is, pretend you are holding it again. Now, pretend you are slowly giving it away to someone you trust, because they will look after it. Now, pretend you are the person who is receiving it. So you are slowly receiving a precious gift from someone else. Okay? Now, what happens next is we put some music on. And you need to close your eyes so you're not looking at anyone else. Because with this activity, there is no right or wrong answer. Everyone will feel the music in a different way. And as the music plays, you have to try and imagine whether you are holding something or whether you are holding nothing. Or whether you are giving something away or whether you are receiving something. Okay, so close your eyes and try and concentrate and listen carefully to the music. Here we go. Well done, everyone. Now you can all sit down. The next thing we are going to do is to look at a group of sentences and figure out which group of sentences we like the best. The sentences are concerning when Beth meets Molly. So, it says, Molly, sentences number 1. So Molly is saying, I felt so lost until I met Beth. She comforted and encouraged me. She gave me a big hug. So that describes how Molly felt before she met Beth, and then after she made friends with her. Now let's have a look at Molly sentences number 2. This one says, Beth changed my whole life. Just when I was feeling aimless and confused, she gave me the only thing she owned. I felt so honoured. So that's a different way of saying much the same thing. And Molly sentences number 3. When Beth gave me her rag doll, I knew we would be friends for life. She trusted me with her most precious belonging. Beth reminded me so much of my mother. Now let's look back at those 3 groups of sentences, and you might like to talk with your partner or with your teacher and say which one you think gets a really rich meaning across. Which one of those groups of sentences has a really good flow to it, where one idea builds on the next idea? Which group of sentences tells a really strong story? Have a think about that for a few seconds. Okay, our next activity is called Molly's Dream Whispers. What happens is we imagine that Molly is waiting on the ship and they have arrived in Australia, but she hasn't got off the boat yet. She has already made friends with Beth. She has the rag doll, and she is looking over the edge of the ship across the waves at Australia. So she has many questions entering her head. She will have positive and negative thoughts, whispers of hope or whispers of fears. So we pretend that she's having a dream, and some voices whisper hope and some voices whisper fears. So voices of fear will be questions which she dreams, which are negative and make her feel negative. A certain question, a fear question, would be, what if Beth gets sick as well? Another fear question would be, where will I stay in the new land? Another fear question will be, what if I'm not allowed to see Beth because she is a convict? She is my only friend. What if the people who live in the new land are not friendly? All these whispers are called voices of fear. But then, at the same time, to balance this out, she might hear voices of hope. These voices might whisper in her ear, I can make a new start and make new friends. Or, when I grow up, I can start a school and an orphanage for kids like me. Or, another voice of hope, I am so lucky to have Beth as my friend. I could not ask for a better friend. Or, I might get a really great job and earn lots of money and buy some land and build a big house. So, there are voices of fear and voices of hope. You might like to choose one of those voices of fear or voices of hope. Everybody choose a sentence which you think is very close to the way Molly would be feeling as she falls asleep. You can make up one of your own or choose one of the ones which is written down. Now, we divide the class into half. So, if everyone has been working in pairs, one of the persons in the pairs stays at their table and puts their head down with their eyes closed like they are dreaming. The other person in the pair stands up and walks slowly around the classroom, and they whisper the sentence that they have chosen into every person's ear who is sitting at their desk. So all the people sitting at their desks are pretending they are Molly having a dream, and all the people walking around are pretending they are the voices that Molly is hearing in her head. So when the music starts playing, all the people who are walking around have to whisper their sentence into the ears of the people who are pretending to be Molly. Okay, here we go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pretend that we are Molly and we are writing in our diary. We haven't written in our diary since we first got onto the boat, so we have to go right back to when she boarded the boat with her mother, and then her mother got sick and passed away. Then she was given the rag doll and made friends with Beth. Then she fell asleep on the boat and had a dream. Then she wakes up and she's looking out over the waves and looking at Australia. So, what is she going to write in her diary? There's lots of words and things to help us. Let's read through some of them now. We have the vocabulary. Boarding the boat. The words are loyalty, shame, pride, and anger, and any more you think of. And then the next section, Molly is alone. She is lonely, miserable, lost, aimless, heartbroken after her mother dies. The next section, Beth meets Molly. She is comforted. She has a friend, cared, reassured, strengthened, encouraged. These are the words we can use. Then we have Molly's dream. It has fears about losing my friend, having no home. It has hopes. Words you could use could be excited, discover, adventures, building, learning, new friends, courage. There are some sentence starters. For example, I saw my mother in chains and I felt, and you finish that off. I had many feelings as, when my mother died, I felt. When I met Beth, I knew. My eyes were filled with. My heart was bursting with. So there's a lot of ideas there to help you. And remember, look down the bottom, it says future sentence starters. So when you're talking about the future, you could say something like, now I see my new life waiting for me. I hope, and then you say something you hope, or I dream. So there's lots of things Molly has to put in her diary, and there's lots of words and prompts to remind you. Okay, you have 5 minutes. Make sure you click submit at the end. Put in as many ideas as you can. Okay, go.